If I look haggard, it's because I just did an entire day with my kids and nothing can salvage exhaustion. But also I have no idea what's going on with my vibe, aura, whatever it is. Okay. Don't care. Now we're ready to do this whole thing. I had about a million different ideas for a video this week and none of them came to fruition. I did record pretty much all of them and decided I hated the way I was saying certain things or coming across. So we're gonna do a what's in my knitting bag. Part of it's like half a head of postpartum hair. So first question I usually get is, what is this bag? I bought this, I think in January of 2025, and I love it. It is the Sula bag. I think its intended customer is someone in clay making, pottery, whatever, because it has a whole bunch of pockets, but then also I think for the tools, the pottists, what is that? Ceramicists, whoever they are, whatever your official title is, please don't be mad. My ADHD hasn't found its way to that hobby yet, but anyways, has a whole bunch of different pockets on the outside. And if you're super chaotic and you have like loose needles or crochet hooks or something, I'm sure that would be great. But yeah, lots of pockets on the outside. I also think it would make a great gardening bag if that's your thing. But I use it for travel knitting. It is a bag that follows me all around my house. It has replaced most of my project bags only because I feel like it's really easy to bring with me in the car. So it is my current whip, or like my most active whip. That's usually what I put in there. So let's talk about what's inside of it. First and foremost, I am someone who is hard of seeing, hard of vision, and especially in the evening or even during the daytime with like a darker yarn, I do be having to give it one of these. Okay, love it. I got it off of Amazon, and I can link everything too, because I know when I've talked in the past on like my other socials, everyone just wants me to comment the links. And no offense to the consumers of my content, but they usually don't read the other comments, and that's okay. That's not on y'all. It's gonna be linked somewhere. Next, I usually have a project inside of my bag. Sometimes it's in a like baggie travel pouch like this one is, and that's usually if I have multiple whips at once. So what I'll do is I'll usually store whips inside of one of these, and I usually never have, I never have that many whips. I usually don't have that many whips going at a time, so it's not like I have a million of these. But I like these for bigger projects, whatever, and then just setting them in my Sula anytime I need to switch out whatever my most active whip is. Currently, I have the Hanny. I am no further than the last time we talked. And that's because I think that I was looking at it too much, like we discussed. I think that the color was starting to become ugly to me. And I think I needed just a little bit of separation from it, and I am getting excited to finish it now. And of course, because I'm getting excited to finish it now, the weather is like 90. Mama, I'm not even expecting like spring until end of April, beginning of May, because where I live, there should at least be 2 more snowstorms, okay? I will say I don't hate it, but I do hate that I won't be able to probably wear this comfortably. Legitimately, the last time you saw her was the last time I zipped up this bag. Was just before I zipped it. Anyways, I'm not even a single stitch further along than when we last discussed her. So I will be finishing this up hopefully soon. I think part of it is also I'm kind of nervous about the double knit band. So in my bag, I store pretty much everything I could need. I don't like having to go all the way upstairs because it's so inconvenient to my craft room to switch out needles, switch out a cable, whatever. So in my Sula, I always keep more needles just in case I have to switch them out. I have my like regular chow goos and my shorties, and yeah, that works. I will say chow goo, at least as far as I know, does not sell all of the needle sizes that I need for certain projects. So depending on the project, I usually switch these out with like my knit picks. Yeah, my knit picks needles, and they're good. So there's that. Okay, I usually keep some barber cord in here. This one I cut specifically for sleeves because there are times when I want to see just how wide the sleeve is, and if I'm working with shorties and a shorter cord, then I kind of, no matter what, have like that really balloon sleeve effect, and I hate that because I need to know if I need to continue making the decreases. So I always have some barber cord in here. I still don't really know how effectively to use it. In the past, I just used yarn and like picked it up with a needle and then would slide my needle back through the stitches after, and that honestly worked fine too. You don't need to buy new stuff, but I did. Soothing chest rub. This may have ended up in here on accident from a toddler. I have a magnetic bookmark. This is usually if I'm working, okay, holy hell. This is usually if I'm working on a paper pattern. I would say that 98% of my patterns are digital. So I have a project notebook. It is the Hobonichi notebook, and then I just put it inside of their A5 book, I think. A5, A4, whatever like the next size down is from like their big size A6. I could be wrong about that. What I love about it is you can switch out the notebooks. So, and not to talk about Hobonichi suddenly, but as far as stationery goes, they are one of my absolute favorite brands. Like, the books are just so good and they lay flat and they don't piss me off when I write in them. Sorry, there's literally barf on my pen from my newborn. Anyways, so yes, project notebook. In here I usually write about what size I'm knitting, what needle size I'm using, and if it varies from what the pattern calls for, what yarn I'm using, how much of the yarn I ordered versus how much I used, sometimes a picture of the pattern or my finished project if I remember. Sometimes I log the time it takes me to make them, just because there have been times where people have asked me if I would make one for them, and the vindictive part of me wants to let them know that it took like 700 million years to make it. So yes, I think that if you are a pretty avid knitter, or at least if you are working on multiple projects at once, this is a must. Not necessarily this brand or setup, but some sort of project notebook to keep your stuff straight. I don't know. Because there have been times where I have not written anything down for a project, and then I've set it down for a week or two and I've come back to it and I can't remember where I'm at in the pattern, or how many increases or decreases I've done, or what changes I've made, and it really does make a huge difference. Okay, I keep my little notions in here. This is just from Hobby Lobby, and I don't recommend it because I literally can't even get it off. But if I remember correctly, I have a whole bunch of stitch markers, some like permanent, what is it? I don't, like some that are removable, and then some that are like markers for beginning of round, whatever, that like you cannot just take off in the middle of knitting. You have to come to the end of your row, or like wherever your needle is placed in the project, marker is placed in the project, and then you can take it out. So I don't know what the difference like name-wise is, but if I could ever open this, I should just try. I'm scared. They're gonna spill everywhere. There's gotta be a better place to store these. Yeah, so that's not coming off. Just take my word for it and do not buy this as well. I did buy from Hide and Sheep on Etsy these really pretty stitch markers. My friend Lisa on TikTok posted about them and immediately bought them. Hopefully you can see it, but they're, I can't tell if it's like, yeah, it's glass. Shrunk glass, I don't know, but came in like a little pack of them. They're very cute and they are pretty, like the diameter of the hole that it's on, I would say is perfect for most needle sizes, which is huge for me because I'm moving on. It doesn't matter what I was about to say. My other stitch markers that are floating around look something similar to this. These are like closed rings. So like they're kind of like the non-removable ones that I was talking about where if like you're knitting, you can't just take them off your needles or your cord. But I have some that are like kind of a swirl pattern and those you can kind of pull off. Oh, maybe there's some in here. Another Notions bag? Yes. Okay, here's what I was talking about. Okay, they're good too. They're fine. I have a bunch of random extra needle grippers. I really hope that I'm in focus for this because I feel like it keeps focusing on my stripes or what's going on here. I have some of these. I have a highlighter if I'm working on a pattern, like a paper pattern. Oh, I had these from Amazon. They're pretty cute. My kids, there's one where he's like looking at his butt crack and my kids think that that one's so funny, so they keep taking it from me. This is my like knitting first aid kit. I don't know how else to explain it, but these are other Notions. I have a measuring tape that I refuse to roll up correctly because I'm just going to be using it again. What's the point? And those retractable ones, my kids love those and they will break them 10 times out of 10. So I don't even bother. Okay, I might have too many stitch markers or at least too many storage options, but more stitch markers. These are more of like the safety pin type. So there's that. I have a stitch counter, row counter, and I'm really hoping that it's not dead or that it didn't restart because I have not picked up my Hanny in a couple weeks or days. And this is supposed to tell me where I'm at, which is why having a knitting journal or project journal comes into play. I have some buttons that I don't think I actually like. A crochet hook. A pen that says loved. I think I have, yes. Okay. These are Hobby Lobby's, like knitting scissors, I guess, yarn scissors, thread scissors. And then this is a pair of scissors from a somewhat local kind of yarn, mostly sewing shop. And these ones are a million times better. Super sharp. These ones I kind of have to like a little bit in order to cut the yarn. So, and they're like newer-ish. So another row counter, and this one does not rely on batteries just in case, but it is like not as favorite as the other one. So I hardly ever use it. Some finishing needles. So I recommend a couple different sizes because sometimes you have like really thick yarn that obviously won't go through the eye of a needle, and then sometimes you have really thin yarn that if you're trying to use a bigger gauge needle will struggle to go through such a fine weight yarn. But I also have this like metal, I want to say the brand is Toyo, almost like a tackle box or a toolbox, and I bought it a couple years ago and I love it. And I was using that for like some of this stuff, but it was just too big. And now I use it for like stationery or art stuff for my kids. And I think that that's also another fun project storage option. I don't know. But what I wanted to say too is this Sula brand, they came out with a almost like tool portfolio. It's zipper, same kind of material. And I was thinking that that would be a great option for needle storage. Like if you have a couple different brands, or if you only want to carry a certain number of needles with you at all times, like I think that would be really cute. But yeah, that's everything that I have in my knitting bag. And I highly recommend it. There are not a lot of things where I'm like, you should buy this, but I mean, the fact that this holds literally all of this stuff plus my project is pretty cool. So, do recommend. It's not a waste of money, very cool brand, and very versatile. So, one thing that I think would be awesome is if it still had like the same like wide mouth option for like the bag entrance. Oh my gosh, can you tell it's like my first time talking today? But maybe like the flap zipped shut, if it could, or Velcroed, something. But sometimes I am anti-zipper. That's another thing. Sometimes I am anti-zipper just because we all have at one point or another, I think, experienced zipping up or unzipping over a thread of yarn and really pissing ourselves off. So that is nice. Like this is such a huge opening and you don't have to fuss with a zipper. So yeah. I forgot that I promised you guys a tutorial on a baby sweater that I made for my newborn Salem like 100 years ago. And I'm really sorry about that, but I need to know, do you guys want me to do it in the same yarn, which was the Lane Cloud yarn, or do you just want it in some sort of bulky weight yarn so that it's a little bit easier to follow and see? I don't think I'll write a pattern for it. I did keep notes, so I think what I was planning on initially was just doing a YouTube tutorial that you guys could come back to and refer to, especially for those of you who follow me and are new knitters. I think that for me personally, in the beginning, I was very much a visual learner, and it was helpful to go backwards and kind of look at techniques or whatever it was instead of trying to read everything. So I think that's what I'm going to do. That way it stays free and you guys can have all sorts of access to it. But let me know about the yarn because I'll do whatever. But I know that the yarn choice that I made for it was pretty popular, and I may potentially have some leftover yarn from the We Made Wardrobe Foolproof Cardi that I am going to hopefully finish soon. So anyways, bye guys.